This episode of the Good, the Bad, and the Geeky podcast is brought to you by Audible.com.
Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/goodbadgeeky.
Audible.com. Over 85,000 titles to choose from for your iPod or MP3 player.
Warning! The podcast you're about to hear is very filthy. We say naughty words you would use as an adult anyway. It'll cause you not to eat your vegetables, and your mom generally thinks it's a bad idea.
Any moment of the show that has any similarity to the history of any person living or dead, real or fictional, to real events are entirely unintentional and coincidental. Unless we're specifically noted otherwise in the cast and crew credits, all celebrity voices are impersonated, and no celebrity has endorsed any aspect of this show.
From the D4K studios in Columbus, Ohio, it's the Good, the Bad, and the Geeky.
Hey everyone,
Don't
welcome
call me a
out.
dipshit.
Welcome out to another episode of the Good, the Bad, and the Geeky. Along with me, I'm Nick Nitro. Along with me, as always, is Dipshit and
John Bettine.
John Bettine. That was pretty good.
Dipshit.
You're a dipshit.
And we have a very awesome show for you all. First off, let's get out of the way. Big thanks to TalkSuperstation.com. We air every Tuesday night, Wednesday morning around midnight or so. What's Nathan?
He's over here shitting his pants.
Are you shitting your pants?
We may have to take a break.
Oh my God!
Not right now. We're good. Let's.
Okay.
We have a great show. Everybody's been working really hard. The staff in our studio.
They got your water right this time, because that's been a constant complaint of every episode you've been in, is that your water is not
Dasani.
It's Dasani, right? So thanks, because they gave you Evian last time, and you were a little pissed about that. You didn't like the Evian.
I thought it was Evian.
Evian, the same thing. Not really. I just know you.
I'm basing it off a movie.
I just know that you were not pleased, and we're all about pleasing you, Nathan.
That's what I said.
Fiji water.
Fiji, I love Fiji water. Get me
good.
some Fiji. That's the first time I worked out. I was just so thirsty for water, and I remember my dad gave me a little bit left over of his, and I was like, I'm still thirsty. So he's like, fine, buy some water from the gym. So I bought Fiji water. It was the first thing I saw, and it was like, I didn't realize how more expensive it was. Bought it though. I never had water that actually tasted good.
Yeah, it's good.
It does. Like there is a difference in like Dasani. Like I love Dasani.
We are discussing water.
We are discussing. And on tonight's show, we're discussing water. You have nothing to say about this,
It
Mr.
really does taste like you're drinking from the mountains.
Yes.
Of Fiji.
Fiji doesn't have mountains. It's an island.
It does.
Actually, it does. Mount Fiji. It's a mountain in Japan, which is named after a set of mountains on an island, the Fiji Islands.
Mountains.
Really, that's the only thing you took away from that. That's the only thing.
Dasani isn't even from a spring.
Really?
Yeah, actually, it's bottled water. It's just tap water that's set through a filter.
Water that's been filtered, and it's
by
basically sewer water that's been.
Yeah,
probably.
It's just some dude.
A lot of water is like that. In fact,
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
all of it.
But Dasani is done by Coke.
Yeah. Aquafina is Pepsi brand.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
I feel like we've learned a lot today about water. And
dipshit.
And speaking of tasty water,
that's from the last episode.
We will have water and pop and drinks and pizza and prizes on the Saturday 9th at Pack Rat Comics at 9 p.m. Good, the Bad, and the Geeky live and edited. Our first live show. All the proceeds go to American Cancer Society, Relay for Life. So we'll all be there. We may have a special.
We have to go.
What?
We have to go.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Whatever. Oh my God! Really? After we had the conversation last Tuesday, you're like, "Yes, I'm excited. I will be there. I will. Because I've already checked his Cobb schedule. That's how I'm prepared for Nathan. I checked his schedule. He's like,
but anything can happen.
Damn it.
We're number one.
Okay.
We're a pretty big deal. Anybody else here get invited to go to England because you're awesome at something you do? Raise your hand.
Me.
But
Son of a bitch. When?
but
All time.
so sincerely, you might be leaving for England in June.
It can happen.
I think you're
They'll
just
pay for our flight. It did last time.
I think you're sort of fucking with me just a little bit, not a lot, because I believe you.
Actually, I saw the date and I was worried that it was Father's Day weekend. It's not.
It's not. Oh, what is Father's Day weekend?
I think it's
the weekend after.
The following weekend. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's when the actual relay thing is, and I was like, I'm going to be tired, and I'm not doing that. So it worked out.
Well, if it was Father's Day weekend, I would not be able to be there.
But
it's not.
Why?
I wouldn't be either.
Why?
Because it's a busy weekend.
Yeah. He has a dad. He has a dad.
No one wants to go to your shit-ass restaurant for Father's Day.
Oh,
Here,
really?
Dad.
York Steakhouse,
piece
by the
of
way,
shit.
fantastic.
Happy
Wonderful
Father's
salad bar.
I'm lying. It's delicious.
But yeah, if you'd like to check out our
delicious.
kind host,
Fine.
the whole point of this is our kind host, Pack Rat Comics. www.packratcomics.com. Yes. Oh my
How
God.
could our staff let this happen?
So yeah, we'll have prizes. There'll be food, fun, all that stuff, and of course we'll have a live show, audience participation, all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, check it out. It'll be really
I had
fun.
a great idea, but I'm not telling you what it is yet. Good. I participated.
All right.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, okay. Well, let's imagine that time has passed and John's not here. He's wearing an invisible John cloak, so it's just you and me. Matter of fact, or no,
So
he's Jimmy 2.0.
So I have to.
Act gay, John. There you go.
So I just get to pretend that John's not here because that's like Christmas.
How's that Christmas?
Because I don't like him.
Oh, okay. Clearly. All right. So what was your idea?
What idea?
Oh my God! Again, short-term memory.
You got to pretend.
You have no idea what you just said.
You weren't going to tell me, but I'm not here now, so you can tell it.
You can tell us, the listeners out there.
Oh, the
Your
chair
idea.
thing. Oh, so put numbers underneath the chair.
No, what the fuck are you talking about? Like literally seconds ago, you said I have a great idea. I have a wonderful idea, but you know what? I don't want to fucking say it because John's here.
Yeah, it was for the live
Apparently,
show.
the chair thing
Okay,
what he's talking about.
All right,
He hasn't told us yet.
We will. Okay,
That was it.
we'll talk about that later. Not on the show.
I was psyching him out if he was here, just to get him thinking about it.
Oh, okay. Gee, Jimmy, shame that you're not John. All right. Well, we have we have a catalog. We have a catalog of things to read. We have a lot of stuff to read. And before we get to our special guest, Sean Ackerman, who directed the Diary of Preston Plummer, who really graciously took time out of his schedule to speak with me for the podcast. We'll get to him in a bit, but we need, for you guys out there who've sent us emails, we keep saying, don't worry, we'll get to it. We got Mailbag Day. That's right, Mailbag Day.
Yeah.
Mailbag Day, Mailbag Day. Hey, everybody, it's Mailbag Day. All right. Well, okay, we got an email from Stella regarding the episode. This is an older episode, but Lost from the beginning to the end.
Wow.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
Right, but it came through us, the way this reads, it came from us from a recent guest we had, which is I heard your show thanks to listening to Barbara Barnett, who was we had on Jerome Wetzel TV, talk about House. The episodes I downloaded were The Overcrowded Web of Spider-Man, which is your first episode, John Gets Lost, Morgan Freeman, Toy Story Through, what the fuck is that? Toy Story Through, that's the...
It's okay, nothing's even capitalized.
The best of the show, 2010, High Tide. By the way, the best of show, 2010, that was your show, Nathan. High Tide, Moneyball, Chasing Zebras, and wanted to write in and tell you guys a few. You have no idea what your show was.
The best of what?
Best of the podcast, 2010. Best of the show, 2010. You hosted that. What started the whole 3, 2, 1. Okay, go. All right. Anyway, see, Scylla, he really cares about your email. No, I'm kidding.
What? I can't help it that I'm great. I don't remember.
Okay. The show has really changed over what appears to be years, and I really like how the show has morphed into something different. I recently started watching Lost at the behest of a family member, and how fitting I finished watching it a week or two before the most recent episode of your podcast. Nick touched on it a few times within the most recent Jerome Wetzel TV show with vague fondness. Okay, so my question is, retrospectively, what would you say were your thoughts about the show now that plenty of time has passed for Lost, especially for John, since he said he would need to think about it for a bit? I asked because upon checking the archives, I came upon the episode from the beginning to the end of Lost, and I was genuinely touched by Nick's little speech at the end about being a man of science and a man of faith, and with the score of the show, it was very fitting. Out of the handful I downloaded, it was by far touching and poignant and showcases why television, no matter if you hate it, Lost or not, is an amazing medium for stories as it invokes passion. And what are these Lost Target commercials John talked about again?
I remember this.
I just remember that too. But so let's talk about the commercials first.
Yeah. Man, I don't even remember.
I don't remember what I just remember.
I wonder if you could find them on YouTube or something. But
you know what? If we find them on YouTube, we will post them in the show notes, and I'll write a note here so I can do that. But it was
basically characters from the show. Man, what was it? It was like
the smoke monster came in.
Yeah,
really, it was more the smoke monster, and you show a picture of the beach, and you're like, oh shit, the show started back up.
I would think that you were thinking that you should come back. Okay,
and then I think it was something like the dude was like, all right, you need to fight the smoke monster, fight him with this, and the smoke monster would. Guys, like a transition would fly across the screen, and it would very clearly be a Target ad where you could buy a fucking sand pail or something. So it wasn't that, but it was something.
It had to do. The product had to do with what was going on in the scene, something that would be useful to the characters.
Yeah, and they did 2 or 3 of them, in different commercial breaks, and every time. And then you got after the first one, you're like, oh shit, I almost watched an ad, and then you're then you start watching for more of them. Yeah, it was pretty cool. But yeah, if I find all of them, I'll post them in the show notes. And the other one that Stella that you asked was the paragraph before, especially for Johnson. He said he would need to think about it a bit. Retrospectively, man, what do you think of the show?
I'd like to go back and watch it all again, just because it's
there. You go. And it's on Netflix now. Netflix streaming. Yeah, you can watch all of them on Netflix streaming. I don't think the epilogue is on there, which I think you should sort of watch because it ties up the Michael stuff.
Yeah, like
Walt and all that, and the Hurley-Bird and what all the stations meant or why. Yeah, little stupid shit like that. But yeah. And she also said, I forgot this. She said, "Thanks for your thoughts. Enjoyed the show, and I listened to so far. Going to subscribe." And Stella, we thank you very much because we could tell that a few people subscribed to the podcast. So so thank you, Stella. And Nate, you want to read the next one? The next email we have.
This one's about you.
It is about you.
I can't pronounce that Japanese man's name.
It's what, dog?
No, Yume Kojo. Is it Kajo?
Yume Kojo, I think.
Kojo?
Doki Doki Panic.
Super Mario Bros. 2 is actually Yume Kojo Doki Doki Panic. I'm acting like you know things.
And I don't
know who wrote Super Mario 2. Who cares?
I don't know. I think one of us said. I think either you or I said no.
I just knew that Koji Kondo did all the music for the first one. I have no idea who wrote the second one. By the way, Mario 2 was one of their worst Mario games of all time.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Mario 2 was supposed to technically be Mario 4, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Mario 1 and Mario 3 are the biggest hits. Look at number 2. Who can say Mario 2 was their favorite?
Until 3? Yes.
No.
The only reason why 3 was awesome is because you turned into a fucking raccoon. And they actually made boss battles a little bit more interesting than just da-da! Bowser firing stuff at you. And you go, and guess what? Your princess is in another castle. I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, and also, the gameplay is completely different almost. Besides the side-scrolling stuff, there is no... You jump on their heads, you don't stomp on them. You pick them up and throw them, or you can have a POW bar, and... I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not the greatest Mario game ever, but I mean, it was pretty different. Or I'm Nathan. You just have a blank expression of no. You're fucking wrong.
I'm just listening. I'm just trying. I have no idea what he's talking about.
From the episode. Well, it's from episode 164.
Well, yeah, I see that.
Maybe you should have read that too. That might help people. It's from a guy named Dog, DOGG with an exclamation dog.
Yeah.
So you
right.
So
all caps.
So thanks, Dog. Before we get to this next very important part, we need to play a clip from a few episodes ago.
We've already heard it.
No, the listeners have not heard it, but let's listen to it again.
Previously on The Good, The Bad, and The Geeky.
Anyway, they're only the main bad guys of Lord of the Rings.
Are those the ones that grow out of the dirt? Or mud?
Yeah, the things that terrorize everybody besides that work for Sauron.
I teach and play sports.
Oh, come on.
Whatever.
You fucking watch Lord of the Rings.
You do. I remember we went and saw, was it...
in the theater.
Yeah.
And you had names.
Okay, you're such
You don't need to learn all their names. Orcs are fucking orcs. They're the whole second movie when they're fighting each other.
I know, right?
When they're fighting like
I can guarantee the word orc was only used in that. I will give you $100 if you can prove the word orc in the second movie was used more than 3 times.
Okay, well, after that episode aired, and that same episode, we have Sam Cass, the guy who created Rock, Paper, Scissors, Lizard, Spock. Sam Cass, who we interviewed, wrote in and said, "Hey guys, I didn't have time to listen to it ahead of time, but just synced it down via iTunes and listen. Man, do I sound geeky. Thanks for inviting me, though. It was fun. By the way, if you guys have arguments about what's in the movies, this is a pretty handy site. Gives an address. You can download all the subtitles in most popular movies. The word orc was mentioned 29 times in The Two Towers. Sam." Awesome. Nathan, I think he sort of wants his $100,
awesome.
Dude.
If you listen to the clip, I didn't say it for the audience.
Oh, well, then I'll take it.
Oh, yeah. I think that's an even bounty of 50-50.
I think it is. I think we should do that.
I think you should do that. You know what?
I will.
This will just put on your tab.
The unit of currency that is being used.
I will say, is this going on your tab for like when we go to the movies?
We are going to use elfish money.
Elfish, yes, because that fucking exists.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm the biggest geek here. No, the Traveler has not come. He will not fucking stand for this shit.
Are you a god?
No.
I am. So I get a pick.
Okay. Well, Nathan, you can read the next few for episode 161. These are more emails because again we got a lot of emails coming in, and we want to get through all of them.
Are you having me read these because you think they're going to spark something other than what?
No, not at all. The whole point of Mailbag Day is we read the mail. Okay, listeners take the time to listen.
Emails about episode 161 after the rain. Micah writes in and asks, "Heard show online and sort of funny. How come someone not know
that
Jennifer Hudson is black?"
And I believe that's a comment made towards Nathan, because Nathan, you proudly exclaimed, "How can someone not know?" Or you didn't know Jennifer Hudson was black. Your whole argument was she doesn't sound black.
I have seen her commercial though for Jenny Craig, and
it's Weight Watchers, but that's okay.
I don't care. I was close. I made an effort.
Hey, there you go.
Anyway, she is not only extremely pretty, she does have a very good voice. I just didn't know she was black.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's not racist. Somebody says their name is Jennifer.
Yes, but
you don't think of a black person. I'm sorry. It's not racist. I'm just saying.
Well, when I think of Monica, I don't think of a white woman. It's a lie.
I mean, if I were to say...
I don't care until I see their face.
Yeah. I went to school with a guy named Deshaun, and he was a white, dorky guy with glasses. I didn't expect his name to be Deshaun. I know. Okay. But how come that's okay, but it's not okay for me to think Jennifer Hudson?
Double standards. Anything that's okay for me and John's fine, but what happens to you, it's out the fucking door.
All right, enjoy your elfish money.
I will.
Number 2.
That would be elvish.
Oh, I thought it'd be elvish.
I don't know. It's my money.
Oh, no, elfish? It's actually ours, to be fair.
Yeah. I will enjoy your elvish money.
Can you put it in a little bag, like the one that robbers throw over their sack with a little dollar sign on it? That'd be sweet.
Put it in a fur bag.
A fur bag.
All right. Joshua.
Slap you in the face with my sack.
Joshua says, "As a parent of 3 small children, it is easy to forget once they hit 5 or 6, sometimes what goes on when you're not around or if they are in good hands. What Nathan did was very brave and harrowing. I bet that's because I was amazing one day and saved a child's life. I like you, person."
Joshua.
I'm going to assume this is Nicholas, just spelled funny. Nicholas writes, "I'm sorry."
That's fine. No, you're fine.
"Good morning. My wife and I have followed the show up to episode 5. Can you tell us who does the music for this series? Thanks in advance." I have no idea.
What music were we using back then? Was it the Little Steven?
This is the original, right? Like the very first 5 episodes?
The first 5 episodes of the
No Name show?
I don't even know if I would have been on those.
You didn't, I think, like episode 18 or 20, because you came in, I think, at which is one of our most popular episodes. Little Steven, Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul, which is Inside of Me.
Boom, boom,
Dum bum bum ba dum ba dum ba dum ba dum bum.
I arranged that.
Dun, dun, dun. It's a good song. It's a fantastic song. I love that song.
I don't remember doing that for the first 5 episodes, though.
Yeah, we did for the first 5 episodes, and then
so I didn't arrange it. That came later because I did that for the Christmas episode.
Well, that was the whole thing. Is that it was one of the original songs we had on the show. Part of the Christmas episode is I thought it would be cool is to have you do that in there.
Yeah.
That way, it's sort of like, you know.
So to answer his question, we can't answer his question.
Sure we can.
No, we can. We just did.
Oh, did we?
Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul. Matter of fact, Little Steven is the guy from the Easy Street Band who's in The Sopranos and has his own show, Lily.
Yeah.
He always, has like a do-rag on his fucking head, even though he's fucking Italian. Just throwing that out there. Hey, I have no problem with the guy. He's actually I like that song a lot. I haven't heard the rest of the album, and it's a very hard album to get a hold of. So,
Nick, why don't you read the next one?
All right. In regards to episode 162, Jerome Wetzel TV returns. YOLO writes, Yo, Nick, your writing articles suck Tolstoy's donkey cock. P.S. John said BJ, not PJ.
I don't know what that's about.
Oh, PJ was in the show, and then we were all saying Nathan said, you said BJ.
Oh,
he's like,
yeah,
I didn't say
say
BJ. Yeah.
Did I? I don't know.
I don't know. Well, you know what?
The first time I was right and you were wrong.
And yo, Nick, your articles.
Other than orc.
Your writing articles.
I think you just made up a number.
Well, I didn't know Tolstoy had a donkey cock.
Yeah.
I thought he was a big fat Russian man with a little tiny
I agree
penis.
with YOLO.
YOLO. So you believe Tolstoy has a big donkey cock that is available for sucking.
Your writing sucks it.
Well, yeah.
I have no idea. I think the fact that like a famous star just emailed you to tell you how cool your writing is maybe trumps that.
I think it sort of does, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Oh, did I blow something?
No, you're fine. No, right. you're perfectly fine, sir. Liz writes in and says, listen to your interview with Ryan Johnson. OMG, he's Australian. Hot. I love Fairly Legal. It is one of my favorite things to do on Saturday mornings while I eat my cereal, watch that show.
You don't do a show, you watch a show. I'm sorry, that's rude.
But upon listening to the interview, oh my.
I'm sorry, that's rude.
I got a sense of a love triangle. Seriously, I guess I'm not a fan of love triangles on some shows. Leave that to the teenager shows, but I'll still watch because I love the cast, but I sure hope it's better than it sounds. And I love that show. I used to not like it. That was part of my whole thing that got him on the show, sort of, was I reviewed it saying, man, this is a way better show now than it was last season. And Ryan's like, hey, mate, I really love your review. Can I do the show? Actually, he didn't say that. I asked him, and he said, sure, on Twitter, by the way. Yeah. The only thing is I felt really bad is that it said that in the intro of the episode, but like I called on Skype. We were having Skype problems with Skype. It was so fucking embarrassing just because I had to call. And he literally gave this nice. You could tell he was a sincere 5-minute long answer, like not in a 5 minute like it's a bad long boring way, but like it's
captured your attention.
It does. The only problem is and that's when Sarah saw and that's really the basis of the cat. Yeah, it was horrible. I felt so bad and tail between my legs. Call myself. Allison writes, heard the interview with Ryan. It was pretty darn good, and Ben sort of annoys me on Fairly Legal, though, but this interview and your recent review of the series made me give it a second go, and you're right. Being her exact opposite makes the chemistry more palpable. Love it. I'm glad you feel that way, Allison. The Shield Brothers emails us with, what exactly happened in the beginning of the interview with Kevin from Cougar Town? That show was really good, nerdy episode, but the opening was just weird. Did you guys prank him? Details. Really dug the most recent few episodes. Good interview with Kevin, too. Turtle Power, guys. Kevin really got me to nerd up hardcore. Like, literally, I listened to that episode and I was like, Jesus, I'm more nerdy than I am with you three or you two in the room. But pretty much, we talked Ninja Turtles. But no, Kevin called Skype after I did sound tests. I called Jimmy. I called my father. I called a few other people, Charmaine. I called a few other people, and I was just doing sound tests, recording. I've done that with you before.
Yeah.
And when we've all done Skype, and it worked fine about an hour before, right as when he was supposed to call me, nothing. And I thought, oh man, did he get booked or something again? It's just, I'm starting to start freaking out. And I'm looking, I was like, because we did Matt Nix, remember there was an issue where even though it showed I had time left, it didn't reactivate my Skype account, which is embarrassing, but I had to quickly pay it, and then Matt could call us. Oh, that wasn't that at all. I was current, up to date, respectable bill payer. And, oh, fuck's sake. He had to call my cell. And literally he called the number and he got some old man. And this old man kept saying, hello. And he literally thought it was like one of you guys on the prank.
Oh, jeez.
Like, and he's like, literally, this is the funniest fucking thing. I think you guys are clever. You guys are so clever. Yeah. So, and then the guy's name was Nixon, William Nixon.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It was just really bizarre. And I think that's why I had John and me do the intro to Ryan Johnson, because another technical glitch happened and I didn't talk about that when we did the Kevin episode, because it was just literally, yeah.
Yeah.
So, All right, well, that's those. And then, John, you want to take the next few?
Sure can. Excuse me. McThird Nate writes, I love USA as a channel and almost all its shows. I love Burn Notice, White Collar, Suits, etc., 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 etc. Sadly, however, I think its weakest shows, both in numbers watched and creativity, are the women-led shows Fairly Legal and Necessary Roughness. I watch Fairly Legal because I enjoy Sarah Shahi, but I didn't love her character to begin with. She's a mess and can't hold down her nice BF and now love triangle. The last thing this show / her character needed, IMO, is a sluttying up. This love triangle and a few other things have me thinking the new showrunner is ruining what little the show had going for it. But after listening to the reviews on Examiner and interview with Ben, I'm going to give the show another shot. I'm just afraid they will take away the subtle and sweet aspect of the show, the only thing I think it had going for it.
Wow. Thanks, McThird Nate. I think it's a good show. That's why we had him on the show, yeah.
Ashley writes, wow. You boys got super nerdy in that episode. You and Kevin had fun and interesting conversation, though. That was twice.
It was twice, yeah. What's up?
After listening to a few of your interviews, I thought I'd throw it out there that I really would like to hear Kevin on again sometime.
That could possibly be arranged.
All right.
Yeah. And maybe we can get all three of us to do the interview with him. Maybe. Sure.
Lonnie Ike writes, Cougar Town is my show, and I love it.
I think Bill Lawrence and Kevin might not agree with that.
Yeah, probably not. Boo to ABC for mistreating it so. With that said, I have never heard a show get that completely nerdy before. And despite my disdain for all that is nerdy, just nerds you. Oh, geez, why can't I read tonight? The conversation was fun, lively, and just funny. Color me surprised. Your Bill Lawrence interview was not bad either.
Jesus Christ, you can't fucking read.
Keep up the good work.
Oh, right.
Tired or something.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. No, yeah, but wait a minute though. My Bill Lawrence was not bad either. That means the Kevin interview might have been bad. So that's like a nice, here, you like it? Yeah, take that. Do you like my compliments? Oh, yeah, thank you though. I appreciate it. Nathan, you want to do the next Twitter ones? A few Twitter ones?
I forgot how to read, so why don't you do that?
Yeah, buddy.
My Nisa from Twitter writes, loved it. Complete with the immigrant song at the beginning. Love me some Reznor soundtracks.
That was in regards to talking about the girl with the dragon tattoo. Which, have you seen that yet?
No, I haven't.
Except for the rape scene.
Yeah.
Good quality filmmaking.
All rape is good rape. Right in on that, bitches.
Wow. Did you really just fucking say that? Yeah, you did.
3, 2,
1. We're not editing that out.
Is awful.
Oh my God. All right.
Sarah86 from Twitter, right? Says,
Jesus Christ.
Writes and says, I want to share one common letter, and I still mess it up. Wow, what an informative and awesome interview with Ryan.
Thanks, Sarah J.
Ekra, a.k.a. Brendan, gives us a few thoughts via multiple tweets. I liked Alcatraz. I like the plot and the stories that can be told. iFox gives it more. I think he means if Fox, but if Fox gives it more of a chance than Firefly. Still mad. I think this person is upset. The only thing that I wonder is that could viewers not have the patience for the storyline? Look what happened with Lost. It is a shame viewers don't expect more from their programs. It sucks when a crappy show with Tim Allen outdraws Cougar Town.
Yes. And then last few tweets we got Dashing Dervish who tweets, I can't get the Bay-induced image of Michelangelo arriving on Earth and riding a meteor yelling Cowabunga out of my head.
Yeah.
I can't get, thank you, Dashing Dervish, you motherfucker. I can't get that image out of my head either. Yeah, that's why I ranted a whole fucking episode with Kevin Beagle about it. The rage that, anyway. Let's, did you heard that though? The turtles are going to be aliens. They're not ninjas. They're not mutants. God, that fucking pissed me off. Flying Jenny tweets, it's just a bunch of dumb Ninja Turtles. OMG, you're filling my timeline is annoying. Unfollowed. Fuck you, I don't care. Ethan Kapler tweets, wow, Michael Bay, I'm holding out hope, but not much. Feel bad for you, dude. Thank you. I thank you. Little what's that, kindness thrown my way. Mm-hmm. And the Webby tweets, why don't you take those Ninja Turtles and go and follow and fuck yourself? Timeline unclogged. That's in regards to a massive Twitter rant I went on when I heard that because I got pissed. Pissed.
I'm shaking my head at people that unfollow you because you...
Like, why did you follow me in the first place? Like, at some point you saw me probably rant about something else, whether it be Cougar Town or
fucking... What do they think the point of... Why are they even on Twitter then? If they don't want to see what people have to say.
Exactly. I just don't get that. And I
can go on rants about Twitter also, but
No, yeah. What was it? Shake my head or no? That was another.
No, that was something else. That was the SMH thing.
What were you pissed off about on Twitter?
The whole retweeting thing.
Yeah, like retweeting is that's something you do with care.
Yeah, it's a privilege that you have on Twitter.
It is. It's a privilege
to retweet stuff. Some people retweet more than others. Some people retweet interesting things. Some people retweet other things because they are just not intelligent enough to come up with an original thought.
Right.
And
they want to, they just can't think of anything, and then they retweet it.
Yeah, it's very annoying.
Yeah. I mean, my thing for and I didn't even feel bad because I think I retweeted like 2 things that morning, and I was like, "Are you pissed at me?"
No,
like,
it wasn't. It's not you. Believe me.
Okay, then I feel so much better. Because, see, Nathan doesn't even know what we're talking about because he doesn't use fucking Twitter. Like, John doesn't really use Twitter, but he uses Twitter.
Yeah. I've been using it more often. Right now. I've been using it more often lately.
You have? Yeah, which is really...
I've actually been communicating back and forth with people from work a lot.
That's because you're the hit boss.
Pretty much.
You know what's down with it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But no, yeah. I bet you anything he fucks up the tweet. He's tweeting right now. I bet you anything he fucks it up.
What are you tweeting?
My phone's downstairs, but rest be assured, I bet he fucks it up.
See it.
What? It says Sound A Podcast. Can you delete tweets? You can trash it.
He fucked it up.
Pretty much.
Okay. Well, I think that's all of them. That's all our emails. And if you like to, we might backlog it a little bit, but if you'd like to email or write the show, goodbadgeeky@gmail.com, 614-364-4088 if you'd like to leave us a voicemail. So we're going to go ahead and take a break because we just had a really nice and lengthy mailbag day. And we will be right back with special guest, writer, producer, director of Diary of Preston Plummer, Sean Ackerman, right after this.
Wake up, go to work. Work. Come home. Eat dinner. Rot your brain out. Go to bed. Lather. Rinse. Repeat. Are you tired of an old humdrum life? Tired of things that just weigh you down and depress you? Wouldn't you rather just focus on things that are awesome? Tune into Nutty Bites. Find out what's awesome. Nutty Bites. nimlas.org/blog.
You know what book I just read?
What?
The Hunger Games.
Oh, that movie was fantastic, but I heard the book was way better.
Me too.
It was fantastic, actually.
Yeah, I just wish I could read it.
I don't have time to read it or any book, really.
Yeah, well, it's just hard for Nate and I to get a book in because with student teaching and, with my job and everything.
I get it, guys. I do. With being married and having a little girl and running a business, I'm busy all the time too. That is why I listen to audiobooks on my MP3 player. It helps me stay in touch with books I want to read and allows me to fit it in between the rest of my responsibilities. That is why, for some of you listening to the Good, the Bad, and the Geeky podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 14-day trial to give you a chance to check out their service.
Oh, wow. I was able to sign up and get a free copy of A Game of Thrones.
Do they have like a Bossy Pants by Tina Fey?
You bet your sweet Bippy they do.
Awesome.
So if you'd like to download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/goodbadgeeky. Again, that's www.audibletrial.com/goodbadgeeky for your free audiobook.
Hey everyone, we're back from the break and we have a very special guest with us on the show. He is the writer, director, and I believe producer as well of the film Diary of Preston Plummer. We have Sean Ackerman with us. So Sean, thank you very much for joining us on the show. We greatly appreciate you you being able to take time from your schedule to do it.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's cool to be here.
Well, what I got in touch with you. I found out about your film by another film that I believe it's Wonder Entertainment. Is that the production company?
That's right.
Wonder Production. They produced Sam Yeager's film Take Me Home, which we interviewed in last week's episode, and this week they said, well, we have this other film that we've been working on. And, why don't you talk to Sean? And I was like, well, sure, why not? That sounds awesome. And I was able to see the film a few days ago here at the Arena Grand in Columbus, Ohio. And I got to say, it was a absolutely fantastic film. I really didn't know what it was going into it, even after going to the website and checking it out. Because, you never really quite know with some indie films where it's going to go. And I was pleasantly surprised. It wasn't the normal coming-of-age teen sort of, or it's not really a teenage story, so to speak, but coming of age story. It was very unique, and it was its own individual film, which it's very hard in a marketplace full of stuff like that. So it was a wonderful film. I'm very glad you made it, but it also feels like it was also a very personal story. Is that true, or was this a story you just always wanted to tell?
It's definitely a story I always wanted to tell. And it does have a personal feeling to it, although, it's not. A lot of people ask me if it's my own life or my own story, and it's not. But I did write the script originally, a little over a decade ago. And,
oh, wow.
And it was optioned by a big studio in LA. And, we sort of had that, the dreaded creative differences.
Oh, yeah.
So, I put the script on the shelf for a decade, but kept coming back to it, kept pulling it off the shelf and adding things that some from my life, some from other people's lives, and every time I came back to it, I still was drawn to it. There's still parts about it I really loved. Over the course of 10 years, the technology changed, and my access to various resources in the film community changed based on a different movie I made, and so finally was able to make the film.
Oh wow! You've made another film as well?
Yeah, even smaller film. So this movie, so Diary of Preston Plummer, I hope it looks bigger than this, but it only cost us like $125,000.
Oh wow! Yeah, it looks wonderful.
Yeah, so a lot of people worked on it for very little or nothing. But my first movie, Straight Line, was a classic, almost no budget, no professional actors. It was just me and some friends. My mom is the third biggest actor in the movie. But it got that movie got into a pretty good festival and got a good review in sort of the right magazines, and so helped me to gather a few more resources for this one.
Well, that's nice because you actually have a few actors that we've seen before. Robert Loggia, I hope I'm saying his name right. Robert Loggia, or is it Luggia?
Loggia. Yeah.
Loggia, sorry. Being I'm a film nerd, I should know that man's done tons of genius stuff. And then you also have Rumor Willis, and oh my God, the name escapes me right now. He plays Preston Plummer, but a lot of hardcore geeks know him as the lead boy in Jurassic Park 3. I know. Okay, but the name escapes me right now, and I feel really bad because he gave a wonderful performance as Preston. I mean, everybody did, but I mean, I was really blown away by that. Again, it was a wonderful little film. I was very surprised by it, and but you said that there were creative differences, and was it something as far off as like they wanted to add pop songs and make it like a super spoiler alert? Someone dies by the end of the film, and that kind of. Did they want to change that, or did they? What did they want to do without spoiling it too badly? I would say, even though spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the film, by the way, iTunes, you can rent it or check out your local theater and see if it's showing there. Again, wonderful film. But can you talk about some of the creative differences that you want to change depending on and what you kept in that you really wanted and fought for?
I mean, I think they originally wanted it to be a really pure genre picture. So, they wanted it to be, either kind of like a straight up love story or like more of a, full on kind of mystery. And I think, the way it is right now, it does require like a certain amount of patience from the audience. Like the movie is sort of a little bit methodical in the way it sets itself up. And then there's sort of one thing, and if you've seen it, I think you probably know what I'm talking about, that is sort of unexpected that happens and sort of turns things on its head a little bit. And I think they just wanted to, move all the big explosions and turns a little bit further up in the script and turn it into a little bit more of a genre picture. And for me, I think a lot of the importance of the script is a lot of the themes and the philosophical underpinnings, and a lot of that stuff was, I think, being thrown out the window in the original draft by some of the folks at the studio. But it's in there now, so that's a good thing.
No, right. Well, did they do one of the things where they kept you on to do a rewrite of it, and they tell you all the things they really liked about it, and then when you took all that stuff and made it a bit better in the second draft, and they came back and said, no, we don't like any of that stuff. We want the stuff that was in there originally, but different. Did they do something like that too, or?
It was sort of just like, they were really honest about what they wanted, and the option was expired after a year, and they basically said, well, if you want us to continue, as the studio to continue kind of like throwing our weight around and helping you try and cast this movie, then
sure,
you change it the way we want it, or let's go our separate ways. And I sort of just said, let's go our separate ways. And it was I was also, I think I was 23 at the time, and I not only felt that like my script was being pushed around, but I sort of felt pushed around. I just wasn't ready to. I didn't know how to like stand up for my ideas quite yet, and so. I think I'm happy that we waited a little bit.
Well, as someone who greatly enjoyed the film, I am glad you waited too. I was very moved by it. I thought it was a wonderful film. I can't stop blushing over it because it really was a good. I guess I wasn't, because again, that's a lot of things with any independent film, is that there's always a chance that it's either going to be good, but it's going to be really cliche, or it's going to be not. You know what I mean? It's going to be very bad. And no, your film was actually, as a matter of fact, one of the things is that I figured, okay, this is a love story. But then the synopsis on the website says there's some kind of mystery, which is what you mentioned. There's some kind of mystery that sort of changes how things are being developed and everything. And the way that it is laid out, it is actually nicely laid out where it's a bit of everything in that regard. It does the mystery, but it also does the love story, and it works in a very natural way. And I do agree with you too that I think some people, if they're not willing, I guess I'm one of those people that likes to put 2 + 2 together to equal 4. And I think some people, if they're not willing to do that, then yeah, this movie might not be for them. But I enjoyed the film enough that for me, the pacing was just right. It was perfect. It did equal up logically, and it wasn't cliche. You know what I mean? It did roll itself out nicely, because I think a lot of love stories today, no matter how you look at it, there are some cliches because cliches because they really do happen. But at the same time, I think it felt very natural. It felt like I was actually almost watching a documentary between two people interacting with each other in some scenes, which is very rare in film. You know what I mean? So it was very good in that regard.
Well, I appreciate that interpretation, and I hope other people see it that way too. I think, I hope a lot of people really like it. I guess I'll find out, in the coming weeks and months, if it's for everybody or if it's just for a specific audience. But I think regardless of whether or not you're really drawn to it, I think one thing I think we're most proud of as a group is that it did cost so little. And the reason it cost so little is because I think very few people really made any kind of substantial amount of, I think maybe nobody made any substantial money off this movie, and everybody just kind of looked at it as a creative project that they're interested in being a part of. So I think no matter, how you view the film, I hope the sincerity and earnestness with which we made this movie in like a truly independent spirit, I do hope that comes across.
It does. And one of the things that I really liked, and you guys seem to do it too. And what's really weird is that one of my co-hosts of the show, Jerome Romy, he goes down as a vacation spot every year to Amelia Island, which for those who don't know, I've been to Amelia Island. Me and my friends went there one summer. And so being down there, there's this one shot that I was thinking about in the back of my head. I was like, wouldn't it be funny because there's this one stretch of, I think was it 90 or 95? Yeah, there's the freeway in Florida. Because Amelia Island's in Florida, for those who are listening at home might not know, but Amelia Island's in Florida, and there's this. It's very lovely scenery, but it's like a weird marsh area, and then in the distance there's like a power plant, but it looks like a factory.
Yeah,
and you got that shot in there, and in the back of my head I was like, man, I wonder if they're going to put that in there, because I just remember driving back and forth down that and seeing that every time we would go anywhere, or we were going home or coming to Amelia Island. And you guys put it in there, and I was like, man, that's fucking awesome. I love that. You captured the scenery beautifully. And I think sometimes buddy films, or, where they usually are traveling, or they show a scenic location, sometimes they don't, they don't capture the essence of the area. And I think you did that with Amelia Island. And have you been to Amelia Island before? Was that just a situation where you knew a connection down there where it would be cheaper to film, or how did Amelia Island come into things?
Yeah, well, I had a friend in film school whose parents owned a couple of seafood restaurants down there.
Oh, and, wow. Okay.
And so in film school, it was a really cheap vacation to go and sleep on this person's parents' couch. But when I was going down there, I really fell in love with the place. And I'm happy that you noticed the more industrial side of things, because I think that's one of the reasons I really fell for Amelia Island, was because although it is a really pretty vacation island, and that's all people see, there is a lot of contrast to the place. Mm-hmm. And the movie, I think, is really about, it tries to be a lot about light and dark and contrast, and how in any given situation there's always both, and some of us are better at seeing one versus the other. And so we tried to show a lot of natural beauty, but point out that there's other things down there too.
Yeah, it was one of those things where, because sometimes you go to places that they sometimes show in movies, and sometimes you just feel they miss the mark, or it feels too commercialized. It's not something that you would really think about when you see that place. And yeah, there is a contrast when you go to Amelia Island. It's sort of a nice destination spot, as a tourist, but then there is sort of a commercialized side of it too, in terms of beyond the tourism, like, the factories and stuff like that, amidst this beautiful, almost like swamp-like area that leads up to Amelia Island. And it's absolutely fascinating that you caught that, because, and again, both films, Diary of Preston Plummer and even Take Me Home, did the same thing. Like, you would pass landmarks that you would see driving on a freeway, And usually major films or even other indie films, they sort of skip over that. And both films just did that. And I was like, man, that's nice because it makes you feel like you really are driving down the road going to this place. And I just find it to be very fascinating. And one of the other things that I wanted to touch on was the use of, as you were saying, light and dark, which is also, like Emilion, has contrast to it. Was that something that was always there in the script as well in the original draft, or was it something that was added in later in?
A lot of that was, I think, added a little bit later in, and part of that. So I have movies are like a compulsion and a passion for me, but they, for whatever reason, they don't make me that happy. And so most of my life, most of my working life is spent in medicine, and I'm in a child psychiatry residency right now. And so I guess the reason I bring that up is because, a lot of my day when I'm with patients in like psychiatry or people that are psychotic or suicidal is spent trying to help them, sort of sort through the world and figure out, how to see a little bit more of the light in the world and a little bit less of the darkness. And I'm very sort of obsessed with that and how so many of us have the chance to decide which we're going to see. And so many of us have, some people, they just have horrible lives, and it's impossible to escape from that. And, some of us have really blessed lives, and it's impossible to not feel privileged and enjoy life. But for most people, we're somewhere in between. And so I think as I experienced that more and more in my working life, I kind of started putting it more and more in the script and made the movie more and more about, this person that was trying to decide which side of the line he was going to land on and the things that, maybe helped him drift to one side or the other over time.
Right. And matter of fact, that was one of the conversations that Preston has with Katie, I believe, which is, I feel like I want to be in the light, but I can't see the light, and it really bothers him. And I think that all individuals feel that way at some point, or another, where you're trying to find the positive in things, and sometimes, what's the old line, which is like, I feel alone in a crowded room. It's almost somewhat similar to that kind of thought process, which is you're trying really hard. There's nothing but good things around you, but I just can't find anything in it. And I thought that, again, and that's a very real statement, I think, too. And again, that's why another reason why I just really enjoyed it. It was very, very profound in ways I wasn't expecting it to be. And that was one of them. And Preston, as the character, noted that he got a lot of this from his grandfather in terms of his intellectual philosophy of things, not the light and dark stuff so much, but in terms of the universe. He makes that analogy at one point. Was that something based on your own grandfather, being that you are in medicine yourself? And was he a physicist or something to that effect? And then, or is that again something just for creative purposes?
That is creative purposes. There's I have no physicist grandfather. But yeah, and I think that speaks to maybe the movie coming from a different place 10 years ago when there are different pressures on the movie and different influences, and I guess that probably comes from the fact that this is going to sound like such a first world problem, but maybe I can explain it. So I inherited a terrible piece of land. So the thing with that is that, it was essentially a great uncle of mine died, and he had he had bought this land in the 70s, and it turned out to be part of a real estate scam. Oh. And essentially it was 2 acres of land in Arizona in the desert that was 100 yards from the largest U.S. Bombing range. So it was God. It was awful. You can't get rid of it. And essentially all it is you pay $20 of taxes a year and you can never get rid of the thing. But I thought it was funny to like have 2 acres, and at the time when I was 22, I was just excited that I was a landowner. But it reminded me of, you know, like what are other types of awful things you can inherit or strange things you can inherit. And I thought about a young man inheriting like a condo in a retirement community in Florida. And around that time, I was going down to Amelia Island for these cheap vacations.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started thinking about what it would be like for a young person to be the only, you know, person under the age of 80 in this gigantic condo complex full of, you know, people near to death. And so a lot of the beginnings of the script were interactions between, you know, very elderly people and this young protagonist. So I think that's where the grandfather, both actual grandfather characters grew out of.
Oh, okay. Very interesting. Yeah, because, and by the way, what was, being that this was an independent film, you know, there's a lot of, as you were saying, no one did it for the money, and everyone did it as a passion project for them. What would you say was for you your biggest get and for the film, for anything, whether it be, you know, location, an actor, like the soundtrack, or anything, and then also what was a happy accident that occurred for the film?
The biggest get was probably Trevor Morgan, who plays Preston Plummer, because the hardest thing to get on these kind of films is cast, because essentially you're asking somebody that you don't know to spend 1 or 2 months of their life, you know, totally immersed in something that, you know, they're probably not going to profit on for somebody that, you know, they've never met before. And once you have that first respectable cast member, then more people are likely to jump on.
Mm-hmm.
So even though Trevor is not famous in a way Rumor is and doesn't have the award history that Robert Loggia does, he is well respected within the film community. And so getting him really, it helped us to pile on other people.
So he was the first one?
He was the first one. And then, you know, once those other actors are on board, then that helped us get, you know, Kodak on board and, you know, Panavision on board and other people that kind of lent us their stuff for little to nothing.
Oh, wow.
And as far as happy accidents goes,
mm-hmm.
To be honest, I really don't think that we had that many happy accidents, and I think that's because we had so little money.
Mm-hmm.
We had to shoot the film so quickly that, you know, I think other movies that shoot films, you know, for longer periods of time or have more takes, you're more likely to have a happy accident because you're shooting more film, you're spending more time on set. But our set was just so regimented. We had so few takes. I mean, 2 or 3 takes each time. We shot the whole thing in, you know, 18 days. We didn't have room for accidents, unfortunately.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, because sometimes, especially in independent filmmaking, it's all about stolen shots, or like in some cases, or where, you know, I guess what I mean by happy accidents, where things that you plan for the best of it, and you know, it doesn't work out the way you initially wanted to, but still you were able to complete what you were wanting to do. You were able to film the scene, but maybe just not on the same location. It ended up being better than how you initially planned. Little stuff like that. But again, you're right. With independent films, though, especially because there's so little money, you know, there's not room for accidents, but sometimes 1 or 2 always sort of sneak in, or, you know.
Well, I guess the happiest accident, then, you know, the happiest just surely something we didn't plan for. This is very small.
Sure.
But in the beginning of the movie, in the very first scene, we throw all the furniture down into the bottom of this pool.
Right.
And it's this character kind of throwing her furniture into the pool. And we really we were so short on time, we were behind schedule. And that scene that makes it into the movie, it's the second take. And there's a part where a glass happens to land on top of a table underwater and stick there perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we had done that 100 times, that never would have happened again. But it was a really nice, beautiful moment, and it was just our second take. We weren't planning for it.
That was to see that totally is a happy accident. Because well, independent film, or matter if it's a short film, that barely sees the light of day, or a film like this where it's getting because you guys been to a few film festivals with us, correct?
Well, we got in. What we decided to do was we got into one that we really liked, and we sort of stopped because at the same time we got into that one film festival, which is the Miami Film Festival.
Mm-hmm.
Warner Brothers, for that, like kind of at the same time, picked up our digital distribution rights.
Gotcha.
And they said, your exposure on your movie is going to be highest right after your premiere. So what we'd like you to do is just premiere at the Miami Film Festival, and then a month and a half later, we'd like you to show in 10 theaters across the country, and and then let us release it digitally at about the same time, and that'll give us the best exposure. And so that's what we did. It's a different model than it used to be a few years ago, where you would tour the film festival circuit.
Sure.
So this is more what most kind of micro budget films are doing these days.
Well, was it Columbus considered one of those 10 theaters?
Yeah, it was, and I think the word, unfortunately, we did not do well in Columbus.
I'm so sorry. The theater I went to when I had considerably a large amount of people there. I mean, like about compared to like the other indie film I saw there, it was like about 20, 30, 40 people. So
well,
sorry, I didn't do better for you, man.
No, we're just happy to. I think the thing is, the theatrical release for a movie this size, the main point of it is publicity, because you just, even though you get a lot of viewers online these days, you need to get that publicity through a theatrical release. And, for a movie this size, like, any publicity is a really huge deal. So before I forget, I just want to thank you for, checking out the movie and giving us some attention with this.
No, not a problem. Because one of the things is I saw the movie a few days ago, and then I also went ahead and I was talking to a friend about it, and they became interested in it. And they were like, "Oh, why didn't?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's already out of Arena Grand, which is the theater here in Columbus." And they're like, "Really? Well, it sounds like my type of movie." And I was like, "Well, I don't know when it's coming out yet, but maybe I'll talk to Sean about it, and you can listen to the show." And then he apparently looked it up, and he's like, "It's already on iTunes to rent."
Yeah.
So, and I went back and rewatched it today as much as I could during my lunch break from my normal 9 to 5 gig, and to pick up any little nuances here and there about it. And so it's really cool that in a way that the distribution is working the way it is now, because back then, and it cost money, even before Warner Bros. Would have picked it up for digital distribution. There's money involved with getting the cast there, getting your film there, making additional copies, I would assume, of the film. Because you shot in digital, I'm assuming, correct? Or no, you shot an actual film?
We shot 95% of the movie on digitally, and then we shot about 5% on film, on anamorphic. So like very, really great film. But that's the one regret I have about it not being in as many theaters. Is it's hard to see that difference. And essentially, there's a few moments when the character, like we were talking about, starts to see the world in a little bit more of the light. And
sure,
those were moments that we were trying to just shoot on film to add a little bit of separation.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that stuff is the landscapes. So if the landscapes kind of pop particularly, it's part of that is because we shot it on film.
Yeah. Wow. Now, do you, what was it, now how long, now the distribution rights owned by Warner Brothers, is that all encompassing for so if you wanted to take the film and put it into theaters, can Warner Brothers stop you if you want to do that? Or, I mean, do they have a say in it at that point, or is it just pure digital distribution?
Yeah, all they do is, all Warner Brothers is involved in is the digital distribution, so like iTunes, Amazon, and, video on demand, Walmart or whatever, but like Walmart on demand. But the theater stuff, that's just self-distribution. And the reason a little picture like us is happy to have something like Warner Brothers help us do the digital distribution is, it's still, you can't just upload your film to iTunes or Amazon.
Oh, no, of course. It costs money and time. Yeah.
Yeah, and even if you do, you'll kind of get buried there. And so Warner Brothers helps with positioning on those sites, and, we're really happy that they're helping us out, because it's going to be 98% of our viewers are going to come online.
Of course. Well, the reason I was bringing that up, asking about that, is because very recently, being a film fan, you probably followed it, is Kevin Smith has Smodcast Pictures now, where he does the thing where he, his plan is, I don't think they've actually implemented it yet for other films besides his own, but he did Red State, where he would rent out a theater, and again, you could do like maybe once every few months, rent out a theater, do live Q&A with yourself or something, and maybe get tickets that, or, sort of put the film back in the black in that regard, perhaps, or again, just spitballing there, but I don't know how that would work. You might have to refer to them, but I was like, I think that's fascinating that filmmaking is now almost to that point where you can do stuff like that. Did you guys think about Kickstarter?
Yeah, we did a little bit of Kickstarter. I think we got, like 5,000 through Kickstarter.
Oh, wow.
So we did okay. Yeah, that was all right. But, most of it just kind of came through begging of random people.
Oh, and that's the beauty of independent filmmaking, though, Well, now, was this something where did you started on it and then Wonder Entertainment came in later, or did you go to Wonder or have a connection through Wonder Entertainment? How did they get involved in terms of handling the film and sort of helping you get the film off the ground and helping you create your vision of the Diary of Preston Plummer?
The main person behind Wonder Entertainment is Jane Kosak, and she's the other producer of the movie. And I was a PA on a movie, on a Todd Solondz movie, when I was in film school, and she was an assistant production manager or something. Mm-hmm. And so we used to commute to set together when I was living in New York, in the year 2000. So I knew her from that, and I've always been in touch with her, and she helped, she produced my first movie, and so, she's amazing to work with, and has always really been behind the picture and waiting for the right time to, make it together.
Sure. Well, that's awesome, man, because I think a lot of independent films too, especially, even no matter how much passion's behind it, if the right people are involved in that in terms of behind the scenes, not just in front of the camera, it can sometimes sadly not, meet what I believe its possible potential could be. And I think that from the way that the film looks beautiful on when I saw it in the theaters, it's a lovely film. And you're right, some of the landscape sequences, they did pop a bit. And that was a very nice bonus. And so you could tell a lot of that love went into the making of the film behind the scenes, not just in front of the camera or in the script or anything like that. So that's important that you get the right people involved, like her from Wonder Entertainment. Now, something else you mentioned here earlier, and I want to sort of ducktail back into it, which was you're a doctor, and but you've also been a PA on films and stuff like that. But you also sort of mentioned that, film is a passion of yours, but it's also, it felt like you were saying a little bit begrudgingly so. Is that just partly because you love being a doctor, but also, your passion's sort of torn in both directions and you can't work in both full time? Or could you, what was your favorite movie growing up that made you say, I want to make a movie one day, or I want to be involved in the filmmaking process and telling stories in celluloid?
I mean, I would say that like David Lynch saved my life when I was a teenager.
Nice.
I mean, he totally he was the first kind of auteur, you know, I discovered when I was a teenager, and you know, he's maybe not my favorite director now, but he was like, you know, I was a kid growing up in the suburbs, and you know, one day I saw Eraserhead, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? So that really kind of set a chain of events, and so it was really sort of David Lynch and how he inspired me that pushed me towards film school. But in the end, yeah, I found that I really was looking at the industry and what I like to do in it, and I like to direct, and that's almost all I like to do. And then I also kind of realized that I only really wanted to direct features, and I felt like I only had about 4 to 6 features in me, and even when I was directing, I wasn't that happy. It was sort of a miserable kind of existence, and lots of stress, and you know, very little actual directing. Really, it was mostly kind of pandering to people and organizing people, and there wasn't as much, you know, pure kind of just making art as I had hoped there would be, and so it never really made me all that happy, and it also felt like there was something missing in my life. And when I found kind of like science and medicine, I felt more fulfilled there. But I will have to say, like, I do have to say, you know, for me, if I can't just walk away from the arts, and
oh, totally,
it'll always be a part of my life. And my plan is that, you know, once every 5 or 10 years, I'll walk away from medicine for about a year, and you know, hopefully each time the movies get a little bit bigger and I have a little bit more tools to try and say what I'm trying to say. And so, you know, the first one allowed me to make this one, and I hope this one allows me to make another one in 5 or 10 years with, you know, a few more resources than we had this time, and I just hope it keeps going like that.
Well, I mean, it'll never see the light of day. I attempted to make a film, and you know, and I didn't have any money behind it. Like literally, the only money I had went into buying an iMac so I could edit the thing in Final Cut Pro. And we borrowed a camera, and it was probably one of the most frustrating experiences of my life, because I'm one of those people that it might be cliche, but I was one of those people that saw Jaws and it freaked me the fuck out so badly, in fact, that I am afraid of water. But I really was like, I want to laugh, I want to scream, I want to invoke panic and fear, like just like Spielberg did to me when I saw Jaws. And then yeah, and then ever since then I wanted to be a filmmaker, and you know, this and that, and went to broadcasting school, went to film school a little bit at Wright State here in Ohio, and in the end I decided doing my own film, and it was one of the most nerve-wracking experiences ever. You would have no idea, and you probably can vouch for this, how fucking annoying a lawnmower can be when you're making a film, because the sound. and literally we were shooting in a suburb, and my friend's house, we were using it, and fucking lawnmower 4 blocks away was going, they were mowing their lawn, and it was just echoing right into the mic. It was like literally it was next door, and we had to do the thing where we would wait then we would have, and there was nobody there really, because it was so small, no one was being paid. One person would have to drive around during lunch break to find out who was mowing the lawn. Once we found that person, they'd start mowing the lawn somewhere else, again 5 blocks away. Oh, it was so, yeah. So I can totally understand it, and it was stressful, and you're freaking out because people are looking to you for answers and for stuff, and you give them, but you know, sometimes it feels like it's going one ear out the other. I totally understand. And yeah, at the end of the day, it's very stressful, and you go, wow, but it's a lot of fun too. And looking back in it, because that's a fun story to tell, is that we went looking for a lawnmower for a half hour to an hour.
Yeah. But looking back, it's always fun looking back. That's for sure. So
right, but during the heat of it, it can be very stressful and very nerve-wracking. What was probably the most stressful moment in Diary of Preston Plummer in terms of dealing with the indie aspect, in terms of like maybe the shot wasn't right, the sun wasn't saying something, you know, what was off that probably really stressed you out and it ended up being okay?
You know, I think every day we were sort of jury-rigging equipment to try and make something look big that had very little money behind it. I will say that, you know, everybody was working, you know, 2 to 10 jobs on the movie. So, you know, it really wasn't like it was all on my shoulders. There's so many people were,
oh, of course, yeah,
I think, willing to be stressed out. I mean, for like, you know, I think even just the housing situation, you know, my producer, Jane Kosick, she slept the whole time on a sofa chair and an ottoman, and you know, I slept on the floor on some couch cushions that I pulled out the whole time. And you know, I think a lot of people, you know, they think that, you know, just because we had Rumor Willis and Robert Loggia and the film looks glossy, that it was like a glamorous experience. And there were some really great parts and glamorous feeling parts about it, but a lot of it was sleeping on the floor in the basement listening to your crewmates fart, you know. But, you know, I think sometimes it's really satisfying to be in those situations. Like, you know, our camera department and lighting department, Miguel, the cinematographer, and Mike, the gaffer, I was like, guys, we got to figure out a way to shoot underwater ocean. And we don't have $15,000 for an underwater soundstage. And essentially what they came up with was, they went, and they went to Home Depot and they bought $50 of black tarp, and then they got some cinder blocks, and they put the tarp in the bottom of a 10-foot deep swimming pool and weighted it down with the cinder blocks.
Wow.
And then we had the actors, you know, dive into there and filmed them in this kind of black abyss. Yeah. And then we stuck the camera in the actual ocean, in like, you know, 2 feet deep, not going out in the boat, and just shot some kind of, you know, light pouring through the water. And then we got some guy in post who was willing to put in a day for free to take out the cinder blocks and mesh the actual underwater ocean with black abyss that we had made. And essentially, you know, we did underwater ocean for $50 with a tarp from Home Depot. And, you know, that kind of stuff is really satisfying because you're not just having to be creative in terms of storytelling, but it's fun to be creative in terms of filmmaking too.
Right. Finding ways around stuff like that. Yeah. Well, because that's shot too. Yeah. There's a part where, if you watch the movie, for those who haven't seen it yet, and again, I'll have a link so you can, for those that want to watch it right away, and if it's not playing in your city yet, I'll have a link so you can download it or rent it from iTunes or Amazon. There's a part where the 2 leads, Preston and Kate, are swimming in the ocean. And, yeah, you sort of do this underwater shot where it's sort of dark and murky because it's night. And it's absolutely – it reminds me of a documentary you would see on, like, the Learning Channel or History Channel where they go underwater into the actual ocean or lake, where it's not pristine and perfect like you would see in a normal, like, big, like, $1 million budget film. It looks like it's a really nice documentary camera style shot, you know, of people really. No, yeah. And I was like, man, this looks really well made. And I'm not saying that blow smoke up your ass. I was one of those things that when I watch film too, I look at, well, how do they make that, especially in an independent film? You know, what kind of cameras and stuff they probably used. And, you know, I was like, wow, this looks really awesome. How did they get that on such a low budget? And there it is. They did it. You guys did it all in a pool. And that's awesome, because I would have never, a normal film goer would probably never pick that up. They would probably go, man, they've made that in the ocean. That's awesome. I see. And and that's fun about filming. I'm sure at the time you're freaking out about it. I was like, well, look right on the film. Right. Now, being you guys were low budget, do you guys have playback when it was occurring, or was it how did that work for you guys on set?
Yeah, no, we didn't have any kind of you know, one of the typical, you know, director screens that I was carrying around with me. It was mostly I would just watch the actors, and then we would look at playback sometimes on the camera itself, because so much of it was digital. But a lot of it were, like I said, we only did 2 or 3 takes each time for the most part because of time. Then also we did 2 or 3 takes most of the time because as part of our creative solution to how we were going to shoot this movie so fast, we thought we would do a lot of really long takes, in part because I hate reverse shot, because I just find it a little bit boring. And so we thought we would try and do a lot of long takes. And, we have, I think, 5 or 6 takes that are over 2 or 3 minutes. And so, doing that, there's only so many times you can really try and ask the actors to nail that. So we rehearsed it a few times, and then try and get it within the first few. So fortunately, because the actors were talented enough, we didn't have to do too much monitoring of everything, and usually turned out well.
That's good. And something else to throw out there too, because some people are a stickler for this. Other people do it like a normal film shoot. In terms of indie films, which is, do you guys shoot in order, or were you a stickler for, no, we got to shoot with the locations we got when we have them and then move on to the next thing? Or did you guys try to shoot it in order of how it played in the script?
We didn't pay attention to shooting in order. That stuff is, that's a luxury that's basically impossible on a movie of this size. What we tried to do mostly was we tried to schedule things around good light as much as we could. So in Florida, at noon to 3 o'clock, you have this sort of blinding, summer light that doesn't look too pretty. And so we tried to get a lot of stuff towards the morning or towards magic hour, when you'd have, more of those kind of brilliant, kind of more cinematic colors that we could take advantage of.
Well, as a filmmaker, looking at films now, who is a filmmaker that really inspires you if you watch films now? Or if not, that almost comes close to?
Yeah. I think, if you watch my movie, and you've seen, this person's work, you almost, it's sort of a no-brainer. And, Terrence Malick is someone that has meant a lot to me, and part of it is because of his career arc. So he made 2 movies in the 70s that, were obviously way better than the 2 movies I've made, but nonetheless, he was able to walk away from film for a considerable period of time, and then, come back and continue to make good work. And that's, something I hope to do. I hope to be able to leave for 5 to 10 years and be welcomed back.
Well, for those who don't know, Terrence Malick is the guy behind the film that came out last year, Tree of Life.
Yeah.
Now I have to ask, because he has a recent film. I take it that you enjoy Tree of Life, or?
Yeah, I love Terrence Malick's work. I think I appreciate his work because he's one of the few people out there that I think he's trying to hit he's trying to hit a home run every time. He's trying to make a classic every time, and sometimes it comes across for some people. The Thin Red Line, the World War II movie that he made, that's one of my favorite movies. But at the same time, I saw it 3 times in the theater, and every time people walked out. And I remember, the second time I saw it in the theater. Do you follow football at all?
Not too much, but I general understanding of it. Yeah.
Well, so there was when I was a kid, the Chicago Bears won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And there was the '85 Bears, and the quarterback was Jim McMahon, and he was this punky quarterback, and he was like my idol when I was 7. And I remember he happened to be sitting in the theater, a couple rows behind me, just a random coincidence when the Thin Red Line, when I went to see that, and and she walked out.
Oh, wow.
And so it just reminded me that, I think, I really respect Malick and I love Malick, but I think sometimes it's nice when he's able to make more accessible stuff like he did with, I think Tree of Life is something that people found fairly accessible, at least for a Malick movie.
Wow, because I thoroughly enjoyed Thin Red Line, and Tree of Life was creatively, from a filmmaker's point of view, it was a wonderful film. But as a story, I was a little bit, maybe I think I didn't get it, or maybe I was in the wrong mindset when I watched it. And maybe it's not his fault. Maybe it was marketing. I think it could have been too.
Yeah, I actually think his least well reviewed film, but a movie that has like a very cultish following among some people, is that movie The New World that came out between The Tree of Life and The Thin Red Line.
Yeah, I never saw that. I mean, did you sorry, go ahead.
I think it's his best movie, like by far, and I think it's sort of inaccessible in some ways, but I almost think that people didn't pay as much attention to it because The Thin Red Line kind of confused so many people, or maybe underwhelmed so many people. And then, The New World is essentially historical fiction, and that's not for everybody. I mean, it's about John Smith and Pocahontas. But, I mean, it is ridiculous. You have to check it out. I think it's his best film by far. Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to, definitely, because I remember thinking fondly of Thin Red Line. I don't remember people walking. I do remember it came out at the same time that I think it was a Mel Gibson movie came out around the same time.
Saving Private Ryan.
Or Saving Private Ryan. Well, I thought Private Ryan came out in 95. I thought there was another movie with actual Mel Gibson in it though, where it was also like Vietnam or the Korean War. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I remember both people were sort of, how Hollywood does that, where this studio released an asteroid movie, this other studio released an asteroid movie,
right.
And they did the same thing. It's like this movie, they did a Vietnam movie over here, and then we have Malick's movie over here, and a lot of people went more for Gibson's thing, and again, I didn't understand people shitting all over. I thought it was a great movie. But Tree of Life, I remember my friend, she's like, I really want to see this movie. Brad Pitt's in it, and I'm like, oh, okay, sure. And I honestly didn't know a lot about it, but I do know a lot of critics were coming out of the film saying it's wonderful. It's a critic type of film, and I'm like, I'll fucking eat that shit up. And I walked out going, I have no idea what I really just saw, and I'm trying, and I can understand that stuff usually really well. And I was like, I have no idea what just happened, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think it was mismarketing when I did watch the trailer and everything. I thought I was expecting a movie with Brad Pitt in it a little bit more, and something I was expecting some other kind of narrative. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's the beauty of film, is that you can do interesting stuff like that. I guess I just wasn't expecting stuff from the dawn of time to appear.
Right. Yeah.
Spoiler alert for those who've not seen The Tree of Life. But you do see the death of the dinosaurs. Are there any other filmmakers out there that really excite you that besides Terrence Malick that you're really into, or like maybe like Scorsese? Have you seen Hugo perchance?
Is it bad if I say I didn't make it through Hugo?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, I didn't make it through Hugo. I think recently I've been pretty enamored with a lot of TV shows.
Ooh. What TV shows are you into?
I think I'm into a lot of ones that are typically popular. I've got not a lot of curveballs here, but I think, I've been loving Breaking Bad a lot.
Breaking Bad, good show.
Loving The Walking Dead, and I like The Killing a lot, even though The Killing is like basically Twin Peaks, but with less small people.
Yeah.
And I've really been into Mad Men. I think I've just really been fascinated by how amazing TV has gotten. I mean, when I was in film school, there was sort of like, there had been Twin Peaks and there was The Sopranos.
Yes, yeah.
And then in the last 10 years, I think, some of the best, if not the best storytelling is happening on TV. I think it's just an amazing, large-scale, long-term, really fleshed out, full, conflicted, amazing characters are getting told on TV now almost as much or more than in film.
Have you seen David Simon's The Wire?
Oh man, I mean, how incredible is that show? The thing about that show is I rented it. I saw it, the first 2 episodes, and then I was like, this is boring, and I returned it. And then some friends, a year later was like, man, you got to make it past the 2nd episode. Give it a chance. And I made it to the 3rd episode, and sure enough, I was like, oh, I'm done. I'm hooked. And I just love it that there's TV out there like that it just takes its time and plays itself out. Are you a fan of The Wire?
Yeah, well, what's really weird is that when The Wire was on, the only show I watched on HBO was The Sopranos, and that's all I watched. I didn't watch Sex and the City or any of that other stuff. I started with Sex and the City, but then it got to whatever the fuck it is now, which is just girl power and just craziness. It wasn't about, because Sex and the City actually used to have a story to it, not just let's just drink and be hot bitches around New York or whatever the fuck it is. Anyway, there's my man card for the show, by the way. I don't care, but yeah, I just remember I would hear about The Wire, and I remember I think Rob Morrow maybe showed up in it. I think I remember hearing that, and I became interested in a little bit of it, but I never saw it. And then and now I started reviewing TV shows and doing the podcast and everything. And Treme, which is a David Simon production, and this is after people years telling The Wire is awesome, you need to watch The Wire. It's all Treme, and I said I love the show, but it moves really slow. I don't know where it's going. But I mean, that's one of the things I like about it. And they're like, well, dude, you should watch The Wire. And then I finally started watching it. And The Wire is freaking amazing. I love that show.
Yeah.
And I'm learning now that I think Simon worked on Homicide: Life on the Street, which I remember watching that growing up. And remember it being a bit of a different show even then compared to normal procedurals. And that's on network TV. So, yeah, you're 100% right. I review a lot of TV shows usually for Examiner.com, and have you watched Justified any?
No, I haven't. Is it good?
Well, I will say this is if you watch the first few episodes of season 1, you might get a feeling of, because the whole point of the show, and this was my little take on it, was he is justified to do and get away with what he wants to do because he's a marshal, U.S. Marshal, and he gets away with a lot of shit, but he's justified to do it. And it's one of those things where it's like, oh, isn't that clever? But it gets really boring really quick at first. But then someone said season 2 is fantastic. You got to watch season 2. And I went back and watched season 2. It's one of the best seasons of television I've seen. It's very good. But yeah, TV, it's really nice that TV is the landscape now where you can tell amazing stories. Yeah. And as you were saying with The Killing, me and my co-host Jerome Wenzel on his Jerome Wenzel TV segment, we talked about The Killing, and I was really a big fan of The Killing. Except, and again, this is more, I think, AMC's fault, which is they just said, "Don't worry, by the end of season 1, you'll have a general idea of who killed Rosie Larson." And the whole season they kept saying, no, it wasn't a councilman. And then they said, oh, wait, it is. And they're like, oh, wait, no, we haven't really talked about who the killer is. And I think I was with the people who was frustrated, but I mean, I stuck with it. And this season it's really good. They're playing out the slow drama. And that's nice when, as you were saying, when a series can take its time to do that. And I think a lot of shows, I don't think if that was on network TV, you would be getting that. And, I think it's sad though too is that network TV they won't do stuff like that, and when they do, it's a rarity. Whatever your thoughts on Lost might be, I think that's a rare gem that got to do what it wanted to do, and ABC let it get away with it.
I really enjoyed Lost. It's a great piece of pulp. I watched it all the way through.
What were your thoughts on the ending, by the way?
Well, my thoughts on the ending were that I was so drunk that I can't remember the ending.
Were you playing a drinking game while watching it, or was
I was just like, the thing was, I was like so excited for the ending, and then I was sort of like, pacing myself though, because I wanted to enjoy it, and then I was like, oh no, it's 2.5 hours, not 2 hours. And then I really was not prepared for that extra half hour.
Oh man!
So I pretty much just like read about that in the morning.
Man!
Based on my reading, the last half an hour was very good, but I didn't actually observe it with my eyes.
If you ever get a chance and rewatch the final episode, again, I greatly enjoyed it. But if maybe from a directing eye, you might find something that really bugs you. And they do this big square off between Jack and Locke finally, or whatever, Smokey and Jack. And they do this amazing shot of Jack. He has the higher ground, and he does this does this epic like superhero jump like shot. It just seems epic, fucking epic and awesome. And then it cuts to commercial. And then when you come back from commercial, they showed the wide master shot, and it looks really lame. And I'm just like, you should have just cut back and show like Jack pounding Jack, or Jack pounding Locke, not show the master shot to just remind people what just happened, because it really took away from the awesomeness of what just happened. Yeah. But I mean, it's still pretty. It's pretty cool. Yeah, because I had a Lost party too. I had some of my co-hosts from the podcast, and we had some other friends come over who watched Lost. And you also probably missed out on the big what the fuck moment where they showed the wreckage, the B-roll of the wreckage from season 1, and people thought, oh my god, they were dead the whole time. Not just in season 6 Flash Sideways, but the whole fucking time. And it was one of those Sopranos moments. And of course, it was pretty funny. But
all right, well now I have to actually go back and watch it.
There you go. So you really love The Killing and Breaking Bad. Have you tried watching Game of Thrones?
I finished the first season. It's some of the best soft porn I've ever seen.
I know, right?
No, it's good. I love the first episode. I was so excited. It had almost a horror element to it in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I've been getting more into horror over the years, and so I was hoping there'd be more of that, and a little bit less of kind of like the city council sort of element that it has to it. But, it is a lot of fun, and the action's great, and the gore is great. I've also really enjoyed Hell on Wheels.
I watched the pilot of that, and it was one of those shows that I was so behind in reviewing stuff, it got passed to the wayside, and one of my friends who gets DVD copies, he's going to let me borrow it the first season when he gets it from AMC, because I enjoyed it. It was just one of those ones where I was so far behind, some shows had to make, a sacrifice had to be made, and that was one of them.
Yeah, you should check it out. It has, besides just a really solid story and great performances, it has it's just like a great kind of American epic to it. It has just so many themes about how this country came to be, in a really more cynical kind of blood-soaked type way. It's pretty great. And I really think, I think over the last several years I've been more into this sort of the pulpy stuff, and I think part of that is I think with my day job, I prefer to come home and watch something that's not just going to make me think, but that's also going to kind of get the adrenaline going a little bit, and so this may be the Diary of Preston Plummer may be the last Sean Ackerman love story that gets made. I think the next stuff is going to be I think what I'm working on right now is more of a violent thriller that's sort of set in the mountains of Montana. It's a different direction, much different direction.
Well, but that's good though. I mean, it's a little bit different than what you had before, and you can test yourself creatively both as a writer and filmmaker, to try do things, because that's sort of the fun of doing film sometimes, is telling a story and telling something you want to tell that's a little bit different than what you did before. That's awesome. That's why we do the stuff we do like that.
Absolutely.
When do you feel like are you hoping for not as long gestation period like Preston Plummer probably? And if so, when would you like to get the ball rolling on that? Is it just really when the script's done at this point, or?
I think for me, 5 to 10 years is probably the time period in which the next one will happen, and just when the pieces come together. So I'll probably spend a few years tinkering with a few scripts and seeing which one kind of is the one that feels right, and and then it's, you never know when the right cast person's going to come on or when the money's going to be there. And so I think it was just like with this one, I had the script ready for a few years and was just sort of waiting until the stars aligned with other people's money and cast and my schedule, and so I'll just kind of play it by ear again.
Well, and I have to ask sort of an addendum to this question, which is, when did you finish editing? When was Diary of Preston Plummer officially in the can?
Well, it was in the can. So it was in the can in December of 2010, and then post-production finished in June of 2011.
Okay, when did the film premiere?
It premiered in March of 2012.
2012. So do you consider the 5 to 10 year period starting when post-production ended, or when it premiered in Miami?
Yeah, I think I think 5 to 10 years from now.
From this moment right now. Okay. I'm busting your balls a little bit, but it was one of those things really sincerely, because I know that sometimes independent films, they are done way before they're actually seeing the light of day. Even when a company, a film distributes the film online or whatever, there's sometimes it's been done for a while. So that's all I was asking for. I didn't know, and also I know you had the script for a long time too. I was just trying to see if but. Well, Sean, thank you very much for taking time. I've already eaten up about an hour or so of your time, and I greatly appreciate it. And again, it's a lovely film. I'll have links in the show notes for those listening on how you can rent the film, and also the website. So if there's any more screenings of the film in theaters, which I do highly suggest you see, especially for, as Sean was pointing out, some of the landscapes in Amelia Island they're wonderfully done. And as we learned on tonight's show, they're all done on film, not digital, which does make it pop. So you can check that out in the theater on the big, beautiful widescreen. And we'll have a link to that so you can check that out. And was there anything else you'd like to plug, Sean, or anything else like that you want us to mention before we let you go?
Hey, just thanks so much for the interest in the film. It really does, mean a lot for these small indies, and it was a lot of fun to talk.
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. Thank you very much for being on the show, and you have a good rest of the night.
All right, thanks. Cheers.
Get out of here without cheese! You're a creep! Go away! We're having a good time until you start up, cheapers! Go have some coffee with cream or something, because I'll tell you something. This is a happy place.
What the fuck am I supposed to say? What song is that?